Welcome back. It's now 7 minutes past 7 a.m. And now let's get into the next segment. Let's take a look at what we have on our local dailies here. That just to alert you that already we have our guest in studio. I've got Senator Eddie Okech, Senator of Migori County, already in studio here. We'll be having a one-on-one so that he can tell us what's in the Azimio basket. All right, right about now, let me take you through the front page of our local daily, starting with the Standard newspaper. On the front page of the Standard newspaper, on the front page, Kenyattas under siege. Kenyattas under siege. And on the front page there, we have photo of former President Uhuru Kenyatta and former First Lady Mama Ngina Kenyatta. And the story continues that hundreds of youth, some ferried from an unknown place, invaded the city farm belonging to former President Uhuru Kenyatta's family, hewing down eucalyptus trees and cutting away sheep. In the evening, they lit fire on the farm, but there was no police presence. That's what's on the front page of the Standard, and the story continues on page 6 and page 7 of the paper. Still on the front page, Raila, mass action leaves city in paralysis. Raila, mass action leaves city in paralysis. The story is completely laid out there for you on page 2, 3, 4, and 15. You can take a look at that story. KQ slums record 38.5 billion shillings loss. KQ slums to record 38.5 billion shillings loss. Airline says that performance is the result of reclassified loan that led to 18 billion shillings loss. That is on the front page of the Standard. Here, CAS assume office in spite of court order. CSS assume office in spite of court order. They resumed office yesterday. And in Egypt, they are told that they now should eat chicken feet because of cost of living, which is skyrocketing in Egypt. All right. Very fast on to the inner pages of the Standard. Raila condemns vandalism of his business premises. Raila condemns vandalism of his business premises. NAK Kenya leader Martha Karua warned of the consequences of harming their leaders, and school children caught in the crossfire was stranded at different places where the police battled protesters. The story continues that while addressing a gathering of opposition demonstrators at the Kamkunji grounds in Kibra, Raila termed the two attacks as criminal and foolish, alleging that they had been conducted by criminals hired by senior government officials. Kamkunji was the opposition's last stop in a series of protest marches by demonstrators that began in Kawangware and ended up in Kibra. Of course, police cordoned off particular areas and roads leading to the city center to bar the protesters from accessing the Nairobi CBD. It continues there. Of course, we have got pictures of demonstrators and several pictures of shops closed, etc., etc. Learning in school disrupted as demonstrators take to city streets. Says that in one city, that is on page 2 of the Standard newspaper, in one city school, less than 10 learners in a class of 60 showed up. And again, schools call parents to collect their children, fearing for their safety as demos enter week 2. Of course, again, it's expected that's going to continue on Thursday for a known number of days, at least as per the opposition chief, Raila Odinga. Business closed as youth clash with police in Mathare. Several pedestrians and motorists were robbed of their valuables during the protest. Trouble started in the morning when police stopped a group of about 50 youth who actually were claiming to be Azimio supporters, had attempted to barricade the busy road at Mathare number 10 opposite Moi Airbase. That happened for the better part of yesterday. Now, to that story now, goons invade Kenyatta family farm, attack Raila's gas farm, that is Spectre gas farm in industrial area. People invaded Northlands farm, felled trees, lit fires and looted sheep, while other goons attacked Raila's company. Police did not intervene during the attack on Kenyattas farm, but were hard on Azimio protesters. And it continues that in scenes, which sent shockwaves across a city, reeling with violent protests staged by Azimio protesters, the goons carried sheep on their shoulders, loading them into waiting cars, and even some of them were doing some business. Actually, some people are even selling them by the roadside. And at that particular point, journalists were attacked. Some youth attacked, some journalists who were covering that event, losing their property. Some of the equipment also got lost. And at the Spectre farm belonging to Raila Odinga, unnamed persons actually arrived at that gas farm that is East Africa Spectre Limited, located in industrial area, which was attacked by rowdy youth after the Northlands attack. The security and safety manager, the company, actually said that the private security officers at the premises managed to repel the attackers, but the damage had already been done. We'll be getting into that shortly with Senator Edio Kech. Curious meeting that set tempo for countering Raila's demonstration. There is that story that over 20 regional members of parliament attended the meeting and a host of county assembly members. The leaders also decried the issue of sabotaging each other for selfish interests. And now that what actually happened on Sunday. Over 100 leaders drawn from Mount Kenya convened and thicker greens to discuss regional support for Kenya Kwanza administration against planned opposition protest. Now, in the meeting hosted by Trade Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria, the leaders resolved to counter Azimio protest in two ways. One, to deploy the youth to protect businesses in Nairobi, and to stage counter-peaceful protests. The meeting brought together 5 governors, that is Irungu Kang'ata of Murang'a, Anne Waiguru of Kirinyaga, Kiarie Badilisha of Nyandarua, Susan Kihike of Nakuru, and Cecily Mbarire of Embu. And Kuria's land counterpart Zachary Njeru, Principal Secretary Mary Mudhoni, Correctional Services and Chief Administrative Secretary Elijah Gitonga, etc., also were in attendance. And of course, also in attendance was Communications Authority CAK Board Chair Mary Wamboi and her Kenya Revenue Authority counterpart Anthony Mwaura. There you have it. You can take a look at that story in details. And finally, on the Standard, beyond blaming past regime, we can't see what state is doing. For the government to deliver on its mandate, we only need the leader. All else is detail. And this administration is facing a much larger task than they anticipated on the campaign trail.